Because I don't understand, what is the no-fly zone? What does that mean? Because I mean, I've come to Detroit and had marvelous times.
We shot movies together in Detroit.
What does this no-fly zone mean?
It was for record labels.
Okay.
When record labels used to have like street teams, and that was back in the A&R days. You know, they would have a promo team, take the artists. You know, A&R take the artists to different locations, and it was like they were just coming to Detroit and wasn't picking up nothing. It was like they would charge the local artists to perform. They would charge the local artists to perform, and the local artists would bring 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people sometimes to this event that will pay to get in. It's like, how is you charging them and they bringing you revenue?
Wow.
You know, and then, you know, when it kept happening with the little homies and they was just doing it because they got money, like, you know, fuck that, man.
Meaning paying to get on
it was just
their own stage, technically.
Exactly. And it was radio as well. Like, you know, the Summer Jams events didn't consist of mostly Detroit artists. They consist of everybody from everywhere else, and the Detroit artists would get charged.
Wow.
And I was like, fuck that. Stop everything. Now the only entertainment around this bitch gonna be what's here.
Right.
So we gonna get acquainted with what we got around these corners, and then we'll start letting a few trinklets in one at a time. And if anybody violated...
Looks like Jay Prince should have just stayed quiet and minded his plate instead of diving headfirst into this Drake versus Kendrick war. Because now, instead of controlling the narrative, he's the one getting roasted from every angle. For decades, Jay Prince has called shots in the streets of Houston, Texas. But the second he inserted himself into this feud, old skeletons started rattling out of the closet. People who claim they've known his secret moves are suddenly airing him out, saying he's been moving like a handler for Hollywood elites. And the whispers only get darker from there. Reports are swirling that Jay Prince has allegedly been pulling strings behind the scenes, moving rappers around like pawns on orders from powerful figures. And right now, SchoolBoy Q is front and center, ready to drop T so scorching could burn down careers. And he's not just talking, he's coming with receipts. The streets haven't buzzed like this in a long time. Remember when SchoolBoy Q pulled up in Houston earlier this month? Everyone thought it was just another tour stop. But nah, he took it straight to Jay Prince Jr.'s doorstep and made a power move that had people talking. Q openly clowned the whole checking-in system that Jay Prince pushes on rappers when they come through Houston, calling it outdated and flat-out embarrassing. And honestly, he wasn't lying. But Q didn't stop there. He hinted that this isn't just about flexing for power or making quick cash grabs. According to whispers in the streets, this hustle might have crossed into something way darker. Word is, this little extortion game hasn't just been costing money. It may have even cost lives. If that's true, then the entire Jay Prince empire could be standing on shaky ground. But let's rewind for a second. Some people think extortion in rap started with hip-hop beefs and street politics, but the roots go way deeper. You can trace it all the way back to 18th century Italy, where the mafia perfected the cold-blooded pay-up or else hustle before bringing it across the ocean. Cities like Chicago, New York, and Philly ended up locked in their grip, with whole neighborhoods living in fear of their demands. Once that blueprint hit the States, American street crews and organized crime rings picked it up fast. Before long, extortion wasn't just a hustle. It became a part of the culture. And when rap money started flowing heavy in the 80s and 90s, the streets wanted their cut. Suddenly, hip-hop found itself tangled in that same web. Even the biggest stars weren't safe, because when the streets call, nobody gets to just walk away. Take Tupac, for example. In 2011, the world was shocked when FBI files revealed that the Jewish Defense League had been running a wild scheme against him and legends like Eazy. The Fed said the JDL made death threats against rappers like Pac, only to spin around and sell them protection for a price. Basically, a life or death insurance hustle. Can you imagine? Eazy was caught in their crosshairs too, right before his tragic death from AIDS complications. That revelation cracked the door wide open.
And I ain't get told about. Nah, ain't none of that going on. Look, like I say, I fuck with all the little youngins out there. That's cool. But they're cool. Hey, well, they're cool. They ain't gotta fuck with me, but I ain't signing no permission slip nowhere. That ain't what I do. look. If you wanted to come politic, you could have came in politic. Hey, that's all good, big homie. They said he could have just came in politic. You know, that's what real niggas do. I ain't no peewee. But check out what I'm saying. I ain't no peewee though.
On how deep these extortion games really run. And now, with Jay Prince's name tied to whispers of the same kind of hustle, people are starting to connect dots, and the timing couldn't be worse. And the FBI even suggested that Tupac himself had been hit with similar threats before his infamous Vegas murder. Crazy, right? Fast forward to today, and street gangs are still running the same exact playbook. Rappers are forced to check in the second they land in the city, or risk finding themselves on the wrong side of some serious heat. The system is supposed to guarantee safety, no robberies, no drama. But in exchange, artists either drop cash or protection or hand over a stage slot to local talent. Think of it like buying a street pass just to move around. But here's the catch. Sometimes the price isn't money. Sometimes the cost could be your very life. And trust me, there are some wild stories that prove just how real this gets. Take Kanye West in Philly, for example. He wasn't doing anything crazy, just hanging out with friends, grabbing a late-night meal at a diner. Out of nowhere, a crew of shady dudes rolled in. They didn't order food. They didn't speak. They just sat down and locked their eyes on Kanye. The tension in that diner was so thick, you could slice it with a knife. Kanye instantly knew the vibe was off. He tucked away his jewelry, kept his head low, and tried not to set anything off. That's when Beanie Siegel, the Broad Street bully himself, stepped up like a real boss. He confronted the crew head-on and made it crystal clear. Kanye was under protection, and nobody was going to lay a finger on him. Just like that, the whole situation shut down before it turned violent. Kanye walked out untouched, but it was a reminder how fast things can flip in certain cities. And if Philly sounds intense, just wait until you hear about Detroit. Because in the Motor City, the rules are even stricter, and they're all enforced by one man. That man is Trick Trick. When rappers come through Detroit, they better know about his infamous no-fly zone. The rule was simple. Show respect, pay your dues, or you don't perform. Period. Trick Trick broke it all down on Drink Champs, exposing how labels used to come into Detroit, cash out on the city, and leave local talent behind. He wasn't having it. He locked the whole scene down, making sure Detroit artists ate first. Outsiders couldn't just waltz in, pocket the money, and bounce. Not on his watch. And for anyone bold enough to test him, they learned the hard way. Even major stars weren't safe. Rick Ross, at the absolute peak of his career, found out just how real Detroit's rules were. Ross tried to perform without paying his respects, and suddenly the city shut down on him like a trap, snapping shut. The entire show was canceled before it even started. He wasn't even allowed inside the venue. That move sent a loud, crystal clear message to every artist watching. In Detroit, you either play by Trick Trick's rules or you don't play at all. When reporters asked about the fiasco, Ross tried to brush it off like it was just another day in the industry. But behind the scenes, different story. His crew showed up to the venue and found the doors chained and locked tight. They instantly knew they were in hostile territory. Instead of squaring up, they backed down. They admitted they weren't ready for that kind of smoke. Meanwhile, Ross chilled at Greektown Casino, waiting on the promoter to fix the mess. But no solutions came, just whispers and rumors about Detroit gangs flexing their muscle and sending a message nobody could afford to ignore. And it wasn't just about respect. It was about consequences. One wrong move, and suddenly your luxury cars, your jewelry, your whole image could be on the line. Keys to Rolls Royces, McLarens, umbrellas with a logo, all of it snatched up like trophies of power. This wasn't random crime. It was organized, calculated, and meant to remind everyone. In certain cities, the streets still hold the final say. And if you think you can dodge that system, ask Ross how it felt when Detroit slammed the door in his face. So, Ross let the rumors swirl. Fans waited for someone, anyone, to clear things up. But when no answers came, Ross played it the only way he knew how, securing the bag. Reports say it was a hefty payout, but money couldn't erase the sting. His fans left standing outside a locked venue. And for Ross, that was a real frustration. Not personal, strictly business. Still, he questioned the logic. If the goal was to flex power, why block the actual players from doing their thing? Ross summed it up with that calm, but cutting demeanor he's famous for. Now flip the script to DaBaby, because his story played out completely different. Y'all know DaBaby doesn't back down from anything. And when it came to checking in, he wasn't about to fold. He was in East Atlanta filming a music video when a local gang pulled up, pressing him for money. But unlike Ross, who never even made it inside his venue, DaBaby was face-to-face with the smoke in real time. And if you know DaBaby, you know stubborn is his middle name. He planted his feet and made it crystal clear. Nobody was going to punk him out of his spot. No payout, no bending, no fear. The scene got heated, egos flared. But DaBaby walked away with his pride intact. He proved he wasn't the type to crumble under pressure. That's the wild part. Both Ross and DaBaby ran into the same street politics, but their responses? Worlds apart. Ross played the long game, cool and calculated, letting others clean up the mess. DaBaby stood tall, went head-on, and let the streets know he couldn't be moved. Two completely different strategies, but both exposing just how brutal and unpredictable the underworld of hip-hop really is. Respect in this game isn't handed out. It's snatched. Sometimes you gotta earn it. Other times, you gotta fight for it. And DaBaby made sure the world knew where he stood. In a Vlad TV interview, DaBaby spilled some serious tea about a close call that nearly spiraled out of control. The cameras were rolling. Everybody trying to keep it professional, but the room was full of fragile egos. And egos that fragile, they can crack in seconds. One wrong word, one wrong move, and it could have turned into pure chaos. DaBaby kept it cool on the outside, but you could tell he knew how close things came to blowing up. And speaking of power plays, here comes Jay Prince, Houston's longtime street figure. The man forever tied to Drake's image. Protector, muscle, the so-called shield. For decades, the Prince name carried whispers of shady dealings. But lately, Jay Prince has been under the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Case in point, July 2020, when NBA YoungBoy's Houston home got robbed. Instead of staying quiet, Jay Prince jumped online offering to return the goods, like he was the one writing the whole script. To many, it didn't look like kindness. It looked like a flex, a way of saying, look how much control I've got. But NBA YoungBoy wasn't having it. Not for a second. He hopped on IG Live and fired shots directly, calling Jay Prince out and letting the world know exactly how he felt. And we can't forget the heartbreaking loss of Migos Takeoff. Shot and killed in Houston, while allegedly under the watch of Jay Prince's own son, Jazz Prince. That tragedy shook hip-hop to its core. Ever since, whispers have been flying about what really went down. Some fans even claim Kendrick Lamar threw subliminal shots at the Prince family on Euphoria, almost like a warning. Stay out of this war with Drake, or risk having your son exposed. Heavy rumors, murky facts. Meanwhile, SchoolBoy Q, part of Kendrick's TD crew, has zero patience for the so-called check-in culture. He's called it out as straight cap, saying rappers shouldn't have to cozy up to strangers just to move through a city. And honestly, he's got a point. Think about it. Even if you're already a superstar, you've got to check in just a touchdown. That's not just strange, that's shady. Word on the street is that Drake, thinking Houston was a stronghold thanks to Jay Prince, tried to flex that power on Q. Reports claim he even got 2 accused Canadian shows shut down. But here's the kicker. When Drake tried the same trick in Houston, it backfired hard. The city didn't fold the way he expected. Suddenly, the table turned. Word spread fast that Drake couldn't even pull strings in the city he thought was his fortress. The embarrassment was loud. For someone who built his image on being untouchable, that kind of L doesn't just sting, it scars. And SchoolBoy Q wasn't backing down. Instead of folding, he doubled down, mocking the system and saying real respect can't be bought. Q clowned the whole culture, calling checking in nothing more than a fake power grab. And that type of honesty, it had the industry buzzing. Few rappers dare say it out loud. Behind the scenes, insiders whisper that Drake's failed play against Q cracked the foundation. The safety net Jay Prince once gave him now looked flimsy. And if Drake couldn't control Houston, what power did he really have left? Even fans began to question his credibility. By August 3rd, the shift was undeniable. SchoolBoy Q hit the stage at the House of Blues in Houston, rocking a packed-out crowd. And fans didn't hesitate to drag Drake for thinking he could pull strings from a distance. The message was crystal clear. He's not running anything down there. Meanwhile, Jay Prince was catching serious heat online. Comment sections filled with people saying, after Takeoff's death, he lost all respect. Others praised Q, writing, finally, a rapper with common sense. Check-in culture is beyond stupid. The backlash hasn't slowed down. SchoolBoy Q, who actually grew up surrounded by LA gang life, knows exactly how these politics work. And the fact that he's calling it out speaks volumes. He even admitted one of his biggest regrets was not making music with Nipsey Hussle, who came from a rival hood. That honesty, that refusal to play by old rules, that's what fans are connecting with. But now I gotta ask you, do you think this check-in culture is outdated? Or does it still hold power in today's hip-hop game? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.